Gosh, I am feisty today. Oh my heavens. So I woke up this morning and I realized something that just absolutely irritates me to the core. It's something that has bothered me off and on, but I didn't quite put like words to it until this morning when I woke up. And that's this. I am tired of Christians and people who say they believe in God but don't actually believe him. And I'm going to try to be gentle about this and everything, but so many Christians, so many people who believe in God, not just Christians, but many faiths, they say they believe God, but they don't actually believe him. They believe in him. Uh, Basically, if they don't outright say something is impossible for them, they still believe it in their hearts. And I've been thinking a lot about goals lately, and something that a lot of us, and this includes me, guys, gosh, it does include me. We believe that reaching our goals is for other people sometimes. Like we're like, okay, I've got this massive goal that I've been wanting to work towards for a very long time, but you know what? That's that kind of goal that's for other people. That's not for me, right? So or like making money is for other people. That's something that I kind of glommed growing up. It's not something that my parents outright taught me, but it's something that I learned growing up was that making money was not something for me. It was for other people. Fulfilling dreams is for other people. Happiness is for other people. Joy is for other people. But guys, God is no respecter of persons. Do you believe that? Do you believe it when he says in Acts 10:34 that God is no respecter of persons? He doesn't look at your neighbors or your family, your friends, your enemies, anybody and say, oh my gosh, okay, so that person deserves it, but you don't. Or that person deserves it, but Andrea doesn't. Like he does not. He doesn't do that. He has set laws that he follows. And if he didn't follow his set laws, he would not be God because God is perfect. He has perfect obedience to the laws that he follows. Anyway, so do you actually believe God or do you just believe in him? There is a huge difference. When God says all things are possible to him that believeth, do you think that verse applies to other people and not you? Okay, I want you seek like search your heart. Do you believe in your heart that when God says all things are possible to him that believeth, he is talking about you? Do I believe that? Do I believe he's talking about me? Do you believe God or do you just believe in him? So what am I talking about exactly? I've kind of hinted around it a little bit. All things are possible to him that believeth. But I'm going to show you a massive promise that Jesus made over and over and over again. It's going to be familiar to you, I promise. And here it is. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. That's in Matthew 7, verses 7 through 8. And it's repeated in was it three of the Gospels? Yes, it's repeated in three of the Gospels. Um, Actually, it's kind of repeated in all four of them. It's repeated because it's important, not because like they're like, oh, he also said this or whatever. I'm just gonna say it because Matthew said it, I'm gonna say it too. No, each of those men believed when Jesus said, "Ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and shall be opened unto you." They believed he was telling the truth, and so they repeated it. And so in Luke 11, it says, I say unto you, ask and shall be given unto you, seek and ye shall find, knock and shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. And then in John 14:13, it says, and whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that will I do. And then in John 15:7 through 8, it says, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. And I like the King James version of the Bible. I'm totally fine with other versions. I will put all of these references in the show notes, or the description if you're on YouTube, so that you can go and look them up in the version of the Bible that's the most familiar and most comfortable to you, okay? All right, and then John 15, I already read that one. John 16 says, verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever you shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. And in Mark 11, it says, therefore I say unto you, whatsoever thing ye desire, when you pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Matthew 21 says, all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. Okay, and we can take it out of the New Testament and go into Psalms, where it says, delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And then in John, First John, actually, not just John, First John 3, it says, and whatsoever we ask, we receive of him because we keep his commandments. And then in Joshua 1:6 through 9, it says, be strong and of a good courage. And then it says in verse 7, it says, only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. Then he basically is like, study the law, guys. Study it day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Study the law, and you'll have success. Do according to the law, and thou mayest prosper, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. And then it says in 9, verse 9, have not I commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. So he's like, don't be scared, don't be shy, don't be be courageous, don't be uncourageous. And you will be prospered, you will be blessed, the Lord will take care of you. And there's a verse that somewhere in there that says that you will be fed. I think that's in verse 6. I didn't put that part in, but okay. So, ask and ye shall receive appears in the Sermon on the Mount, in private instruction to the disciples, in miracle moments, in parables, in his farewell discourse, in responses to doubt, in responses to that's impossible. I can't do that. That's impossible. Okay, he repeats it multiple times over and over again, and is that repetition is deliberate. It's not an accident. It's not like he was like, oh, by the way, asking shall receive. No, he says it over and over and over and over again, and it's essentially the same thing multiple distinct times. And a lot of teachers, when they're teaching something, they'll especially if they're not confident in what they're teaching, they will start out and then they will gradually kind of soften it, like, oh, sorry, well, in case, maybe it doesn't really quite apply to everybody, or if you want to apply it to yourself, then no, Jesus does not do that. He escalates the promise instead of softening it. And so he starts out by saying, asking it will be given, seeking you will find. And then a little bit later, he's like, whatever you ask, I will do. Ask what you will. You have what you've asked, basically. And then in his final teaching in John 16, he says, ask and you will receive, that your joy may be full. He comes back extra confident. He doesn't weaken or soften his promise. He doesn't back down. And then also, when he is telling you to ask and seek and you shall find and all of that, he pairs it with belief more than anything else. He's not saying, if you obey enough, you'll receive everything, or if you're righteous enough, you'll receive these things, or if you earn it, you'll receive these things. No, he says, if you believe. He says, if you do not doubt, if you have faith, right? So faith is the primary mechanism, not a side condition. You have to believe it's possible. And then Jesus also teaches persistence because he knows that, we're human. We're not perfect. Things are going to drag us down. We're going to get discouraged. We're going to lose hope at times. He never once says, ask once and then, that's good. You don't need to ask again, right? He actually asks you to be persistent. He tells you to be persistent. So like parable of the persistent widow who's like going to this judge who doesn't care about God, doesn't care about people or anything, and she's like asking him repeatedly, and he grants her request simply because she refuses to stop asking. So Jesus uses that parable to show that persistent prayer grounded in faith will be answered, and that God, who is just and attentive, will respond far more willingly than an unjust judge would. So the parable emphasizes not giving up, not losing heart, not getting discouraged when results are delayed, because time sometimes happens, right? Things happen, and our goals sometimes get delayed. And then the parable of the friend at midnight. So a man goes to a friend's house and at midnight to ask for bread and to feed an unexpected guest. And the friend is initially like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But he eventually gives in because of the man's bold and shameless persistent. So Jesus teaches that audacious, confident asking gets what you want, even when circumstances say it's like this is an appropriate time, like this is really bad timing, or it's inappropriate. God, Jesus is like, do it anyway, ask anyway. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open unto you. There's never any convenient time for other people, and God doesn't care about convenience and inconvenience. He simply wants you to ask. Anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's, like I said, if it's inappropriate or poorly timed. Why? Because belief has to be more persistent than doubt. Because you're going to doubt. You're going to have tough days. Ask anyway. And that leads me to my next thing. People are like, yeah, but I'm just like, I'm asking for too much. It's too hard, guys. Gosh, I just think it's impossible, or maybe it's possible for somebody else and not for me. But are your goals and dreams really impossible? I'm going to say they are not. If you have the ability to think of them, to come up with the idea for that goal and dream, then it is not impossible. I mean, look at the Wright brothers. And this is an example that Bob Proctor gave all the time. And I do like Bob Proctor, by the way. He talks about it all the time, like the idea to fly, the ability, the science, the physics behind flight was always there. Nobody thought about it. Nobody came up with that idea. Well, a bunch of people did. They're like, let's do wings with feathers. They try to mimic how birds do it. Nobody thought that you put something with metal up in the air and it's going to fly, right? That just seemed so unintuitive, so impossible. But the Wright brothers, like, we're gonna fly. We are gonna do it. And there's people in France at the same time, and but the Wright brothers are the ones that stayed in the air consistently and persistently. And it's just like if you haven't read their story, what is it called? I think it's just called The Wright Brothers. I just that audiobook was so good. Absolutely loved it. Anyway, the ability to use the cell phone, the science, the technology, not the technology, the science, the physics, all of that behind it has always been there. And another example that Bob Proctor gives, um, and a couple of my friends, Tony Child and Todd Bowerly, these are examples that they've given multiple times. I'm standing in this room right now. I'm actually not standing, I'm sitting. But my room right here has classic rock playing in it right now. It has country music playing in it right now. It has oldies, it has classical music playing in it right now. But I can't hear it because I'm not tuned into it. But it exists. Just because I can't hear it or see it does not mean it does not exist. And the same thing is your goals and dreams. If you have the ability to think it, then you have the ability to achieve it. And with God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26 says that. With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. What about money? Okay, so a lot of people are like, well, it says in the Bible that it's harder for a rich man to pass through the eye, or a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter in heaven. People always take that verse and then they end. They don't finish reading the verses after that because Jesus goes on and says, well, yeah, with men, it's impossible for man to get into heaven. It's impossible for any man to get into heaven without God's help. But with God, all things are possible, including a rich man entering the kingdom of heaven. Okay? With men, this is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Mark 10:27, with men it is impossible, but not with God, for with God all things are possible. Luke 18:27, the things which are impossible with men are possible with God. Matthew 17:20, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto you. Mark 9:23, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. In Luke 1:37, for with God nothing shall be impossible. And it's funny because when I woke up this morning, I wasn't planning on this being like a Bible study or a gospel podcast episode, but it just hurt, it like hit my heart so bad. It hurt. Like I want people to understand how things operate in this world that we live in. And there are laws in this world that we have to obey to get what we want. And I'm going to go into that a little bit later, but let me continue on this. In Jeremiah 32:17, it says, Ah, Lord God, behold, thou hast made the heaven and the earth by thy great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for thee. And then again in 27, it says, Behold, I am, in verse 27 of that same chapter, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? No, guys, there isn't. Genesis 18:14, is anything too hard for the Lord? Job 42:2, I know that thou canst do everything and that no thought can be withheld from thee. No thought can be withheld from thee. We're going to talk about thoughts in a little bit. Ephesians 3:20, now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. In Joshua 1, it says, be strong and of a good courage. Okay, I'm actually going to paraphrase a bunch of this. So, and I already talked about it a little bit. So in Joshua, it says, be strong and of a good courage. This is in chapter 1. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. So know the law so that you can prosper wherever you go. Study the law day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Gosh, guys, is this not obvious? Like, understand how blessings are obtained and achieved in your goals, and you can prosper. And that doesn't necessarily mean money, but it does also mean money. But it also means like prosper in your relationships, prosper with your family, prosper with your goals, with your dreams, your flowers and your fruits. I mean, all things are possible to God, and you prosper when you understand the laws that govern the things that you're trying to get prosper. Like when you're planting food, something that Earl Nightingale talked about frequently was you've got a soil of land, and you can take two seeds. One can be corn, and the other can be nightshade, which is a deadly poison. And the soil doesn't care what you plant; it will give back to you what you put in it. So you put corn in one hole, and you water it and you tend and you take care of it. You put nightshade in the other hole, and you water it, tend and take care of it, and you will grow not corn from both of them, but corn from one and nightshade from the other. So the soil does not care what you put in it. It will return to you what you put in. So it doesn't care what it is, though. It will give you back in an abundance what you put into it. Anyway, so um this there's a scripture that Bob Proctor quoted all the time. That this one of my favorite scriptures. I actually knew obviously knew about it. It comes from one of the scriptures from my church. It says, and Bob Proctor, like I said, quoted this all the time. There is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven before the foundations of this world, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to that law upon which it is predicated. So let me explain that. So there are laws that have been around for a very long time, and all blessings that you want to receive are the receivement of those blessings is based on your obedience to those laws. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from or what you think about laws. The law of gravity works regardless of whether you're aware of it or not. And I'll get into that. I think I talk about that a little bit later. But so what is the law then? Right? In order for you to prosper on the land, you need to know what the laws are. So what are the laws then? In Job 22, it says, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." So decree means to formally and decisively declare something with authority. So thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Then in Habakkuk in chapter 2, it says, "And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Wait for it, because it will surely come." And my kids are like fighting outside the hall. I hope you guys can't hear that. But okay, so it says, "The Lord answered me and said, Write the vision, make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Wait for it, because it will surely come." Now, what is a vision, guys? A vision is something that you think in your mind. A vision is something that you want to do in the future. A vision is a goal. So write your goal. Put it somewhere where you'll see it frequently. And the vision is yet for an appointed time. It's something that's going to happen in the future, but wait for it, because it will surely come. If you decree it and if you envision it, if you keep it in your brain, you see it where, put it where you can see it frequently. So in Proverbs 29:18, it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he." Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. When you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up there every time. I can't remember who it is that says that, but when you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up there. So think about a boat without a captain or a crew. And this is something that Earl Nightingale also talked about quite frequently. Think about a boat that doesn't have a captain or a crew to direct it. It doesn't matter if someone wants to go somewhere without direction, that boat is not going to end up anywhere. I mean, it's just going to go, and my husband and I were thinking about that. We're like, it's just going to bounce in around inside the harbor. And, it doesn't go anywhere without a direction. I mean, it can wander, it can bounce around, right? But without a captain or a crew to direct it, it's not going to have a firm destination in mind. And that's the law right there. So, okay, so where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Think about people who don't have goals. Are they happy? Or are they miserable and depressed? If they are working towards a goal, they will be happier than somebody who is not. He that keepeth the law, happy is he. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Okay, Galatians 6:7 says, "Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap." I talked about that already. What you sow, you will reap. What you put into the soil, you will receive in abundance. And then it says in 2 Corinthians 9:6, "He which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully." And then the ultimate verse that everybody talks about all the time in the mindset universe: "For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." That's in Proverbs 23:7. It says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." As a man, as a woman, as a child thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you're constantly thinking about the things that you don't want or you don't have, doesn't it make sense that you'll get more of what you don't want and don't have? If you sow sparingly, your harvest will be weak. That's what it said in that verse up there above in 2 Corinthians. "He which soweth sparingly shall also reap sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully." If you sow sparingly, your harvest will be weak. If you think about what you don't have, you'll get more of that misery, of that discontent, of that "I don't have enough." But if you think of what you of sorry, if you think about what you want and where you want to go, doesn't it make sense that you'll get more of that instead of more of what you don't want and don't and more of where you don't want to go? In that verse it says, "He which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully." And then this other verse right here. So while you're setting their goals and you're working towards them, if there's ever comes a time when you don't know exactly what the next step is and you don't know exactly where you should go, you can ask for help. In James 1, 5 through 6, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. There is the law. It just said, he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. If you don't know where you're going, you will not end up anywhere meaningful. Ask in faith, nothing wavering. That's the law. Ask and ye shall receive, knock and it shall be open unto you, seek and ye shall find. Laws don't care how you feel about them. They don't care what you know. They don't even care if you know they exist, right? Think about before Sir Isaac Newton and gravity and all of that. Think about people back then. They knew things, if they dropped, would fall. If they were dropped, they would fall. They didn't understand why. They just understood the law. Or babies that don't actually know about the law at all. They're not old enough. They will still fall, right? If they trip, they fall. If they fall down the stairs, they go to the edge. There is still a law. It doesn't matter whether you know what that law is or not. You have to, the world, the universe, the way it is created, it is designed to function based on laws. And if you know what the laws are and if you follow them, you will get where you want to go. And as I said, as a man thinketh, so is he. There's a law. As a man thinketh, so is he. What you think about all day long is what you will become, is what you will receive. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. So the things that you plant in your mind or plant in your life, you will get more of. If you're planting, like, oh, I never have enough time, I never have money, you're going to have not enough time and you're going to have not enough money. But if you think, I have all the time I need for the things that are important to me, because look at all these people out there that are super uber successful. They have the same amount of time as you and as me. So why are they achieving their goals and we are not, right? It's because they understand how the laws work and they have a vision that is in their mind. They've decreed where they are going. They know where they're going and they are working towards it. I don't know how to stress this enough. I mean, and this is part of this is my discovery too. Like I've been working a lot on mindset and understanding goals, like truly understanding how goals actually work, not just the the ideas like the SMART acronym and things like that, which I used to believe 100%, but I'm actually kind of going beyond that now to a different type of mentality when it comes to setting goals, and I'll talk about that in future episodes. But right now I just really want and hope I can help you understand that the laws that are based, that the universe is based on, that the world, that everything has created on, they apply to you and they apply to me. And when we understand those laws and use them for our benefit, we can ask and receive, and we can seek and find, and we can knock, and it will be open unto us. Anything we can conceive about in our mind, we is possible. I mean, gosh, go back and listen to all those verses. Nothing is impossible to God. And if we, and God also says in those verses, if you don't receive what you ask, it's because you didn't believe enough. And some of us were like, oh, I believe, but down here, do you believe down here? You might believe here, but you might not believe here. And you can't quite understand exactly where your subconscious is and what you believe down to the core in your subconscious mind. And that's something that I've been working really hard on recently is I am naturally an optimistic person. I'm naturally positive in my approach to things, but there are beliefs, core beliefs that limit me, and I did not even recognize them or fully realize they're there until in this last year or so. Been about a year and a half now, where I've just been really paying very, very close attention to the things that that have come to pass in my life. And I'm like, I've looked back in my past, and I'll just share right now. Every single goal I've set, except money goals, I have reached. Every single goal I have set that does not involve money, I have reached. I hit the USA Today list several times. I set that goal. I set the goal to write books. I've got over 85 books published now. My dream university all growing up was Brigham Young University. My dad went there when I was 6 to 8 years old or so. So my formative years were spent on that campus. And I just knew I would someday attend BYU. I decreed it. I set that vision. I thought about it constantly, all the time, all the time. And guess what? I applied to BYU without an ACT, without an SAT, and no high school diploma. I was accepted and I graduated. So there's a law that the universe is based on, and you understand and you control it with your brain and with your thoughts and how you approach things, and you can achieve things that seem impossible to other people. At the time when I got accepted to BYU, everybody, oh gosh, my fiance's mom, when she found out I was applying to BYU, she's like, "Oh, I never thought my kids were smart enough to go there." And I was like, "You raised your kids that way? Like, you raised them to believe they're not smart enough? No wonder they're not going to go if they don't think it's possible, you know?" And I didn't like, I was told that's something that she told me, and this was before I'd even applied, right? This is while I was in the process. I think I'm gonna apply, right? I didn't have an SAT, I didn't have an ACT, and I didn't have a high school diploma because I'd been homeschooled, and and I didn't know at the time. I found out a little bit later, but only 1 to 3% of people who live inside of Utah, especially Utah County, mainly Utah County, who apply to BYU get accepted. And it didn't matter. Those kinds of things. My kids, I didn't think my kids are smart, or only 1 to 3% of people who live in Utah County are accepted to BYU. And I'm like, "Nah, I don't care. This is my goal and this is my vision, and I am going to do it." And I did. And I did it in a way that was unconventional. And you're going to reach goals in ways that are unconventional. There is a set path to success that everybody looks at and says, "That's the path I have to take to success." But that's a fable. That's untrue. It's not, it's a myth. It's a legend. There are many different ways to success. And to me, going to BYU and graduating from there was a success. And it was something that I thought was impossible at times, but I knew in my heart that I wanted to do it. Now, I said I've reached every single goal I've made that did not have to do with finances. When it comes to finances, that is where my subconscious, my it has limiting beliefs, and I'm trying really hard to understand where those beliefs came from and how to get rid of them. And I know it's going to take repetition, it's going to take a while to get there, but I believe I will get there. I will get to the point where all of my barriers when it comes to money will be gone, because money is not evil. It's just a thing, right? It's something that you can use to enrich other people's lives and in your own life. And why do I have a fear of money? And I know the answer to that, some of the answers to that. But anyway, okay, so don't waver. Set your goal. Don't waver from it. Because the law says if you waver, you will not reach your goal, right? Believe you can do it, because nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. Laws don't care, like I said was saying, how you feel or if you know about them. Gravity works whether you're aware of it or not. Learning about the laws allows you to open up the world around you. It allows you to understand how people make the goals that they set. And it allows you, it makes it so that that success is not out of reach for you yourself. And then last, I want to share one last verse with you. It's in First Corinthians chapter 2 verse 9. It says, "I have not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." So I have not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. We can't even imagine the amazing blessings that are waiting for us if we just ask, and if we just seek, and if we just knock. God will open to us. Do you believe God when he says these things, or do you just believe in God? Please find a way to believe God. And if you struggle, if any of this stuff like hit you kind of like, I'm not sure, then that's something for you to work on. That's an area of tension that needs to be resolved before you can actually move forward in your life, before you can progress, before you can reach the goals that you want to reach, and before you can become the person you want to be and the person God needs you to be. Ask specifically for what you want. Keep that vision in your mind at all times, because as a man thinketh, so is he. As you thinketh, so are you. If you think abundantly, you will have abundance, but if you think in lack, you will receive lack. And I like, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, that's all woo woo." But gosh, guys, there's a law irrevocably decreed upon the foundations of the heaven, upon which all blessings are predicated. In order to receive that blessing, you must be obedient to the law. And it doesn't matter where that scripture comes from. It doesn't matter, because think of it. Karma, the law of karma. This is something that Tony Child, my friend, says frequently. Um, the law of the harvest. You reap what you sow. The law of karma, what you put out comes back to you. And then even science, like there is an equal and opposite reaction to every action. So there's all sorts of different philosophies out there, but all of them basically say the same thing. And there, oh I gosh, I forgot all of those. There's so many good quotes. Let me see if I can actually find them. If you haven't heard of The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, it is absolutely phenomenal. So look it up on YouTube. He's got some, it's a really phenomenal YouTube video that I've listened to a bajillion times. So he says, we become what we think about, right? As a man thinketh, so is he. Listen to Marcus Aurelius. He says, a man's life is what his thoughts make of it. Benjamin Disraeli said, everything comes if a man will only wait. I brought myself after long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, a man is what he thinks about all day long. William James said, the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. And then he says, we need only act in cold blood, act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with our life that it will become real. It will become so knit with habit and emotion that our interests in it will be those which characterize belief. And he also said, if you only care enough for a result, you will almost certainly obtain it. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. Only you must then really wish these things and wish them exclusively and not wish at the same time 100 other incompatible things just as strongly. And then in the Bible, it says, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said, this is one of the greatest laws in the universe. Fervently do I wish I had discovered it as a very young man. It dawned upon me much later in life, and I found it to be the greatest discovery, if not my greatest discovery, outside my relationship to God. That law, briefly and simply stated, is that if you think in negative terms, you will get negative results. If you think in positive terms, you will achieve positive results. That simple fact, which is at the basis of an astonishing law of that simple fact is at the basis of an astonishing law of prosperity and success. In 3 words, believe and succeed. Okay, William Shakespeare put it this way: our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. I'm going to read that one again because that one's a little harder to understand. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Okay, George Bernard Shaw said, people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. And then Earl Nightingale says, well, it's pretty apparent, isn't it? And every person who discovered this for a while believed that they were the first to work it out. We become what we think about. And all those quotes that he just gave are from people who've lived all across time. And I mean, back Shakespeare and Proverbs, I mean, all across time. We become what we think about. Do you believe God or do you just believe in God? Nothing is impossible to him who believeth. Guys, set your goals and work towards those goals. Change the way you think. And I'm going to talk a lot about this in future episodes. Change the way you think so that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve, so you can be happy, so you can end where you want to end, so you can be in a place, especially in your golden years or later on, where you can be where you wanted to be and have achieved the things that you wanted to have achieved by the time you get there. Anyway, I feel this so strongly. It's just like I said at the very start, it's one of my biggest pet peeves is people who say they believe God, who don't actually believe God. They know that God exists. They trust him. They believe that God is guiding them somewhere good, but they don't believe God. They don't believe Jesus when he says, ask and you shall receive, knock it shall be opened unto you. God is no respecter of persons. He doesn't care what you ask for. He wants to bless you abundantly. That is his goal and his desire. And I absolutely know that. I've seen it so many times in my life. And gosh, I feel like I'm giving a talk in church. Anyway, I told you guys when I started doing episodes again that one of the reasons why I stopped recording was because I was shying away from my true and core beliefs and who I really am. And I believe in God and I believe God to my core, and I'm working really hard to grow that belief. And I want to put that in my podcast because what I'm learning, I want to be teaching other people, because the more you learn, the more you understand yourself. And I knew that if I continued shying away from talking about God or Jesus or anything like that, that it would actually slow and halt and hinder my own progress. And I can't afford to have my growth slowed any longer. I've had so many setbacks and I'm tired of setbacks. Anyway, so comment below. I would love to hear what you guys think about this topic. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I really, really want to help you guys. I want to help you understand that you get what you want because of what you think about, and that you actually have the power to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And it's not too late. And one last parting thought. I don't remember who said it. Gosh, I've heard so many people repeat it. A lot of people, when they set a goal and they don't achieve it by a certain time frame, they throw the goal out because they believe the goal was wrong. The goal wasn't wrong. The time frame was wrong. The goal is still right. So keep working towards your goal, even if you have not achieved it by the time you think you should have achieved it by. And that's pretty much it for this episode. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be alerted to future videos. Please join my crew, my team, my people by subscribing and by following me, and comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.